starting on my right, your left.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Adriana Martinez. I'm a candidate for Ward 3 Las Vegas City Council. I am a native Nevadan, born and raised here in Las Vegas, and grew up in Ward 3 most of my life as a liaison with the public as far as doing any public work with seniors, children, schools, neighborhood associations, and I would love to be given the opportunity to serve as city council. I know the inner workings of the entire position, and I would love that privilege. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Steve Evans. I was born and raised in Nevada, actually born originally in Henderson. I grew up there until a teenager. When I moved in my late teen years to actually the same house that I live in now in Ward 3 in the older part of Las Vegas. I moved away to New York, DC, Reno, Lake Tahoe, made my way around the world and saw what other cities look like and what the possibilities were. 17 and a half years ago, I moved back here, bought the house that I knew as a teenager behind the old Mormon High School. I got busy doing block watch programs, neighborhood cleanups. I fund a neighborhood newsletter, Notes from the Hood. I did a number of things to help improve my neighborhood. I wrote grants. I got a tree planting project and partnered with the Gorman High School students. I must have caught the attention of Oscar Goodman, who appointed me to the 2020 Master Plan Steering Committee, which guides the future of the city in terms of how we want to grow and develop. I then was appointed to the Planning Commission 9.5 years ago, where I've served since and am the current chairman. Everything that you see basically in the downtown area and throughout my ward, I've had my fingerprints on those documents, on those plans. I've been an advocate of smart growth. I've been a voice for the neighborhoods. I've fought for historic preservation. And I believe I have a record of achievement to run on and the skill set in order to be a councilman. And I appreciate everyone's opportunity to vote. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Bob Coffin, seeking the Ward 3 council seat. I was raised in Las Vegas. We moved here when I was a little kid in the early 50s. I think your later life is formed by how you live your youth. Graduated from high school in 1961 here. Answered a call for volunteers to fight a forest fire at Cold Creek Canyon, which is just northwest of Mount Charleston, in July of 1961. Served alongside National Guardsmen we rode up to that fire at Deuce and a Half. 3 weeks later, I took the oath, the first one of my life, August 7th, 1961, into the Army Reserve, and I joined an infantry company down on East Sierra. I was scheduled to go on active duty shortly thereafter, only the Russians encircled Berlin 5 days after I took the oath. One thing led to another, and I continued my life, public service, and then later in life, volunteered for the legislature and took that oath 8 times in my years of service. During that time, I've served the same residents of Ward 3 in the legislature, so they know me quite well and sent me back many times, and I think they'll do it again. I'm very proud to have been selected by you to attend here today, and I trust that I'll be able to answer your questions. I know that there's limited time, and I have to leave at 3:45 to take my son to the doctor. Thank you.
I'm Attorney Tony Leiker. I've been a 19-year attorney in Las Vegas. I was a graduate of Stanford University. I have a degree in economics in 1988. I was a second-round draft pick by the Green Bay Packers, which we won the Super Bowl this year. So I'm hoping to keep the winning going. I apologize if anybody's a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I went to law school at the University of Oregon. I clerked at the U.S. Attorney's Office, so basically I was a federal prosecutor, but they had to do the DUI trials up in Oregon. I was a Nye County District Attorney from 1992 to 1993. I worked for the Las Vegas City Prosecutor's Office, right here in the building next door, for 3.5 years. And then in December 1996, I went to private practice, and I've been in private practice in Ward 3 ever since. I got in this race because a lot of the people who came into my office were starving. I'd say about 60% are half pay, a third pay, unemployed. I don't know if I also told you my dad was in the Army, and I have a lot of uncles that were in the military, so I definitely respect the military. And if I hadn't got a scholarship to Coffin Junior College and went on to Stanford, I probably would have joined the service. I'm a conservative Democrat. I think that distinguishes me with the rest of us up here. We're all Democrats, but I'm the only conservative Democrat up here. And I'll tell you one thing, I'm not a pimp. And we'll go into that more later.
Mike?
Mike Murray, I'm a former Marine also, lifelong resident of the state of Nevada. In fact, my current house is over in the Hyde Park neighborhood. My wife has lived there for 30-some years. Las Vegas is near and dear to me. I have here a copy of the June 1st of 2010 final budget message in which Mayor Goodman talks about federal pronouncements that the national recession is over. Our revenues are continuing to decline due to high unemployment, slumping tourism and gaming, and struggling housing markets. And due to these difficult and uncertain economic times, we continue to evaluate the way we do business and consider all possible options. Yet, on the second page, it says the City Council has adopted 6 priorities. And the number 1 priority is sustainable and livable neighborhoods. The second one says vibrant urban fabric, which I don't know if that is my tie or exactly what that is supposed to mean. Then it says fiscally sound government, then it says pro-business environment, and then it finally says a safe city. I'd like to hear what you guys think about the priorities that the City Council should have, because I don't see it as sustainable, livable neighborhoods unless you get some people back to work so they can afford the houses in those neighborhoods. Thank you. Mr. Start, please.
Yes, I agree with you. I have been walking door to door for the past month, and one of the biggest issues that I see in our neighborhoods are I keep finding empty homes. As I knock on doors, I find an empty house. 2 more homes will have families, and the next one will be empty again. I realize that this is all caused by not having, or lack of jobs, and jobs should be the number 1 priority, is finding jobs for our residents and creating jobs, and I believe that that is the reason why economic development should be first and everything trickles down last, because economic development will provide jobs will provide food and housing for its citizens, and I do believe that that is a top priority. There is a trickle effect with that.
Thank you. I think everybody realizes that jobs are probably the number 1 thing that we need to focus on. As a city councilman, you have limited possibilities in terms of what you can, you can't, politicians promise that we're going to end unemployment and all of that sort of thing. But I do think that there is a roadmap that we need to follow, and the first and foremost of which is how do you enable businesses? We have way too many onerous regulations in the city, and I'm familiar with all of them. We have duplication of efforts. You have people in one department that give you the green light to build something, and then you start building it, and a guy from a desk across the street says, no, that's not right. We're gonna have to move the wall over a little bit. There are a number of things that we could do to enable businesses, and we've done it really well downtown. The East Fremont Corridor and the Arts District are 2 examples. We eliminated some of the licensing fees, and we spurred new businesses. Those businesses provide jobs. Jobs allow people to then have homes, and some of those vacant homes get bought. We have tons of people that want to move and live downtown, and they would, and they live in the suburbs, but they're underwater. But we've created jobs, and we've done it through, in a small measure, we've done it through eliminating some of the licensing fees and the duplication of efforts in an effort to provide revitalization and redevelopment. In the big picture, in my mind, we have to, as a state and as a community, look at the long term. Everything is a short-term solution. And in my mind, education is everything. And we will never have a diversified economy to attract good businesses here with jobs if we don't have a good education system. And right now, our university budget is at an all-time, we're eliminating programs, we're eliminating positions. Good businesses often don't want to locate here because of our education system is poor. And that's not necessarily under the purview of a city councilman, but it's certainly something that a city councilman can advocate. And it's time that we, as a community, stood up and said, we have to look at long-term solutions. We can't kick that can down the road anymore. And then lastly, the other thing is, if you want to diversify the economy, you know, I think we have great opportunities with the solar energy. And I would agree with you, sir. I sat on that 2020 master plan when we came up with that vision statement. And, you know, hope is not a plan. You know, all the words in the world about livable, viable, you know, I mean, it's a nice statement, but we have to live up to it. And we have to live up to it through our actions and not just those words. Thank you.
Bob Coffin. I think that, and I like to talk about three different things. It's an alliteration of the letter P. Police, parks, and pedestrians. All of those things, if you have these elements, you have a very livable place. So in essence, you get to the goal of a very livable, sustainable community by making sure it's safe. The legislature needs to pass another quarter-cent sales tax, which was approved by the voters in Clark County. And yet, we were able to get 1/4 cent passed, and we need the other 1/4 cent passed. The voters approved it, we need that for another 600 police. Metro is budgeting well and handling the affairs, of the fiscal affairs of the first appropriation quite nicely. But we need more because Ward 3 is plagued with crimes and gangs. We had an incident where a young gang went wilding down on East Charleston, hurt numerous people, and the death of a citizen occurred because of that. Parks. First thing I'll do when elected to the council will be to reopen Huntridge Park, a park where I grew up as a little kid and enjoyed my youth. And the council closed it 5 years ago because it could not figure out how to handle the homeless problem. Rather than dealing with it in a proper fashion with marshaling enforcement and with the ability of folks to play, and rather than do that, the council has had this park open for 5 years, mowing the lawn every week, watering it, keeping it nice and neat for no one at all. A waste of time, money, and a real insult to the people of Ward 3. Lastly, pedestrian safety. Our ward is full of wide streets, and everybody used to think that make them wider so that traffic can progress. But guess what? You start killing people when you have wide streets with no refuge, poorly marked, delineated pedestrian crosswalks. People, like older folks, and a lot of veterans on the street are getting hurt. And the veterans in the parks, many of them are homeless, and they need to be cared for. So it's got to be livable for the poor as well as the rich. I could go on and on, but you want brevity in your answers. Thank you.
And as I said, I think what good is increasing the parks and making the parks nicer if you don't have a job? I mean, and as I've said, the only reason why I got in this race was two reasons. One, because the people that keep coming in, they don't have any jobs, and I felt with my economics degree, I understand the economy, and I know how to get the economy working in my role as a city councilman. I would say, this is more of a federal thing, but we can't have career politicians and they're going to be city councilmen and have this tax and spend philosophy. And I'm a little irritated today. If you know me, you wouldn't be able to tell, but if you knew me, you could tell. And I'm gonna just get this out right now. It really bothers me. And I read this article, I just found this out a couple of days ago. And as I said earlier, I'm not a pimp. And so I'm not gonna vote for legalizing prostitution in Las Vegas. And I think there's been some talk about it from, I love Oscar Goodman, but I think, and everything he says, 99% I'm with. But I think maybe he had too many martinis when he was talking about doing brothels in Las Vegas. And I think there's some consideration of that. I'd like you guys to ask the rest of the councilmen their position on this. But there was an article in Las Vegas Sun in 2009 that says, under consideration, tax brothels considering legalizing prostitution in Las Vegas. And Mr. Coffin was offered the bill that did this, and it was stricken out. And he was talking, and he opened debate when he was the head of the Senate Tax Committee. And this is all on the internet. And I was surprised. I found this out a few days ago, and frankly, it turned my stomach. I think they're nice people here. They're all very nice. I'm not trying to be bad, but I just think a lot of people don't understand this, people's motives here and what they're actually all about. And there's a quote here that says, I'd be happy, this is from Mr. Coffin, I'd be happy to listen to arguments for legalization anytime. In the meantime, I know we have to get some money from the world's oldest profession. So that's his mentality, and frankly, I was shocked, and and so I wanted to bring that to light. And I'm not going to be a pimp, and I don't think anybody should vote for Mr. Coffin because of his stance solely on this. We don't have to stoop that low, ladies and gentlemen, in Las Vegas to get the economy rolling. I have some great ideas for the economy. And, as a national picture, when you study economics, you have to realize 25% of the economy is people's expectations. There's about $4 trillion that multimillionaires have in this country that they would invest in Las Vegas if they knew that it was stable and that there was going to be job growth. But they're not investing. They're going to China. It's going elsewhere. And if we reduce the capital gains from 35% down to 25%, to zero, capital gains to zero, and the corporate tax rate from 35% to 25%, you would see people starting to create jobs. And then that would make people feel better, and we could get out of this depression we're in. As far as what a city councilman does, when I was a city prosecutor, I would see Councilman McDonald over here. I mean, they had a lot of power. I mean, it's hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't think people really realize how much power a city councilman person has. There's hundreds of millions of dollars in the budget. It's a big city. We're worldwide known. You get to talk to the casino owners. You know them. You probably have their cell phone numbers, as well as the sheriff. It's a very important position. Number one, I think we have to get back to old Las Vegas. I'm not a gambler, but I've been around people that gamble, and when you talk to gamblers, if they lose $3,000 in a month, they never talk about what they lost. They talk about, oh, I was up $800, I was up $800. But if you charge them $30 for a buffet, they're going to complain, or $20 for a buffet. If you charge them a high hotel fee, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to complain about that all day long. But if they don't, so we got to get back to having lower buffet prices and hotel rooms. And I think we can fill up. What the casino workers are telling me is that they're kind of getting filled up on the weekends, but during the week we don't have that. And I'm the only person up here, in addition, that runs a business. I'm an attorney, but I have my own business. I've had my own business since '96. What have I been advertising? I advertise to lower my prices because we're in a recession. We're in a depression, actually. Also, I think we need to take advantage of the fact that the world and Las Vegas is sports nuts. I mean, I saw this video. It's called, I say sports, you say nuts. I say sports, you say nuts. The whole world and this whole nation is sports nuts. We have existing facilities where we could fill up for soccer events, basketball events, all kind of sporting events where we could have people coming out and getting people to come to Vegas. We need to start getting people to come back to Vegas again, and then we'll have plenty of jobs. I had okay, I'll continue later.
Sorry.
Can I do a quick follow-up question?
Absolutely.
Yes
Sure,
or no?
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Simple yes or no. Would you support changing the law in the city of Las Vegas to allow permit holders to carry their concealed firearms in city parks? Adriana, please.
Would I consider to change the city?
The city law currently does not allow concealed firearms permit holders to carry their firearms in city parks. It is one of the biggest pet peeves of CCW holders. Would you support changing the law to allow us to be safe and protect ourselves in a city park?
Just a yes or no.
Simple yes or no.
Don't forget to put your push the button.
Oh, okay. So support to change the law. I'm sorry, could you please repeat that one more time?
Would you support changing the law to allow concealed carry permit holders to carry their firearms in city parks? Yes or no?
Okay, well, yes.
Thank you.
Yes, I would.
I'll answer that question after I take a moment to address the comments.
No, yes or no.
Mr. Leiker, I tried to.
Yes or no. Please, sir. Yes or no with that question. You can.
Veterans are fair.
You can.
Yes.
You can get
Now,
a hold of the
I hope I don't
YouTube
roil-
video.
I hope I don't roil Mr. Leiker's ample stomach with this answer, but I don't favor prostitution in Clark County or the city of Las Vegas. His implication and his incorrect phrasing to try to make a radio audience believe, as well as this live group here, that somehow or another, I guess he used the word pimp. Well, I can't say that I would ever have fit that description, but I can tell you, sir, that I resented the implication because I held a hearing in order to tax the legal brothels in the state of Nevada, of which there are none in the city of Las Vegas or Clark County. They were willing to pay taxes for a desperately poor state. I could not find the votes to make it happen. Now, as a member of a council, it's very important to be open-minded. And if someone brings a proposal that is legitimate, you should have a hearing on it, because that's what the public wants. So when people bring legitimate proposals to the council, I will certainly push for an adequate hearing. I don't think we need one on prostitution, because there is so much illegal prostitution right now in Las Vegas that is totally out of control. I don't think, we can do anything about it. Now, you had my answer, yes, to that previous one.
Thank you.
But I had to take, because you did not interrupt the gentleman, to get him back on point, that I felt I needed to do that myself. Thank you.
Yes or no?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
Lou Labello, Marine Corps veteran. I've heard some talk about getting back to old Vegas when we brought up the issue of legal, illegal prostitution. I'd like to now bring up NRS 453, which regulates or gives guidance to medicinal marijuana users. What it does not do is provide any information, legalities for medicinal marijuana dispensaries. So I would like to know your opinion, whether or not you are going to continue to support that, especially as a way to generate revenue for the city, and where you stand on that position of actually writing out something and addressing you have now people allowed to legally smoke marijuana, yet we see our tax dollars being spent on raids day in and day out of these businesses that are being set up. So I would like to know your position on whether or not we should just embrace it, or if you're going to say, not in my ward, I don't want to see it. Thank you.
Keep it to a minute, please.
We can start on the left. 1 minute, please.
I'm not a big, first of all, I'm an attorney, so if there's a law that's in place, we gotta follow the law. And I will follow the law as a city council person, and that's what the veterans fight for, is that people uphold the law. But I'm not a big proponent of medical marijuana or marijuana. I think it, or for alcohol for that matter, or drugs, and I think that it dilutes people's minds, and it's not a good thing. But if there's laws on the book that allow it, that's I'll do that. But I'd like to respond to, if I may, have the rest of my time. Mr. Coffin, it's a quote
30 seconds.
from David McGrath Swartz from the Las Vegas Sun. Under consideration, tax brawlers consider legalizing prostitution in Las Vegas. This is Mr. Coffin's quote. I'd be happy to listen to arguments for legalization anytime, unquote. Coffin said, quote, in the meantime, I know we have to get some money for the world's oldest profession, quote. And then there's another quote, and he goes, I've not decided whether or not to support the legalization and control of it in urban areas, but I think it's an idea worth entertaining. I think it's unfortunate that somebody's running for city council that would even entertain legalizing prostitution, and I'm not trying to say...
Stop. That's it.
I'd also like to remind the panel members as well, I'm not talking about whether or not you believe in medicinal marijuana. On the books, you're allowed to smoke if you get the right legal paperwork. There is nothing on the books for dispensaries to operate. So now we're in a position where our residents are being told they are allowed to medicate themselves, yet they have no legal way to acquire their medicine. Thank you.
Follow the statutes. Statutes permit this, and it's a strange dilemma to put a municipality on. I didn't realize statutes and regulations didn't require the ability for people to find it. And now I read about the controversy in the city, and they closed a dispensary on Las Vegas Boulevard. I do not know if they took the proper action. For sure, it makes common sense, and that should always be your guideline here, that if you have passed a law to allow people to alleviate their pain or their nausea, or they might be able to overcome an illness, then they should be able to buy it. And they should be able to buy it in a place, apparently, which would be regulated by local authorities. So obviously the authorities have to provide some means of enforcing, to make sure that people are actually needing it. So I suppose that means regulations to control who gives a prescription and whether it's properly sold, and not advertised as some sort of outlet for recreational drugs.
I don't know what the law says. I'm assuming that you represent that there's a law on the books that allow people to smoke marijuana for medicinal reasons. I'm not sure what the question was, but
The question was, what is your stance on them not being able to get what we've said they can legally use to medicate themselves within the city limits?
well, if there's a law there, I don't quite understand the issue, but in my mind, you know, it's not something that I'm overly concerned about. We have way too many issues to deal with and to worry about whether someone who has cancer gets to smoke pot. I mean, if it's legal, so be it. But I'd like to see, you know, if we're going to create laws, let's put criminals behind bars. Let's make sure our streets are safe and we don't have an excessive degree of homicides and robberies. You know, to me, it's not real high on my radar. Thank you.
To me, it's apparent that we need to revisit this law and provide the language that makes it ultimately clear as to how to dispense or when to dispense. This is for medicinal purposes. Anybody knows, anybody who's been a cancer patient who can't keep food down after radiation treatment, you need something to bring back that appetite. And I do believe that they should be able to dispense this in the proper manner and regulate everything that is needed. But if we need to revisit the language to make it clear on how to dispense, whom to dispense to, then that would be a priority to go ahead and do that so that we can ensure that the proper care is taken and that everything is legal and according to the way that it is on the books.
All right, thank you very much, candidates. That's all the time we have for